The bar was crowded, the kind of Friday night where the smell of cheap beer mixed with cigarette smoke hung heavy in the air. Laughter, music, and the clinking of glasses filled the room. Nobody expected that in the middle of all that noise, a single shocking act would silence the entire place. The moment came suddenly, so quickly it barely seemed real. A burly biker, his jacket covered in patches and grease stains, reached across the counter and yanked at the waitress's shirt. The sound of fabric tearing cut through the chatter like a knife. Every head in the bar turned. Gasps echoed. But it wasn't the violence of the act that froze everyone in place. It was what they saw hidden beneath her torn shirt. The young waitress, no older than 22, stumbled back, clutching herself. Her name was Emily. Normally she smiled at customers, balancing trays with practiced ease, but in that moment her face turned pale, and her secret was exposed. Across her chest and ribs were dark, jagged scars, the kind that told stories of pain, fire, and survival. The biker's hand dropped instantly, his eyes wide, not with triumph but with horror. The bar went silent. Even the jukebox seemed to choke on its music. Nobody knew what to say. Emily froze too. Her chest heaved with heavy breaths, her hands trembling as she tried to cover herself. She wanted to run, to disappear into the back room and never come out again. For years, she had hidden those scars. They weren't just marks on her body, they were marks on her soul, reminders of the fire that had almost taken her life when she was just a child. And now, ripped open by a careless, cruel act, the entire room was staring. The biker, whose name was Hank, had come into the bar with his usual gang. Loud, rough, full of beer-fueled bravado, he thought intimidating the waitress would earn a laugh. But as he looked at Emily, shame twisted his stomach. He hadn't expected this. He hadn't expected scars that carried so much weight, so much pain. He had wanted to show power, but instead he had revealed something fragile and real. Emily's manager rushed over, throwing a towel around her shoulders, glaring at Hank. "What's wrong with you?" he barked. "Get out before I call the cops." But Emily's shaking voice cut through. "No, wait." Everyone turned to her, expecting anger, a demand for justice. Instead, her voice cracked with something else, something deeper. "Let them see." Her words shocked everyone. Slowly, she lowered the towel. Her scars were visible now, running across her collarbone down her side. People stared, but this time not in judgment. Their expressions shifted: pity, empathy, even guilt for ever thinking of her as just the cheerful waitress behind the counter. Emily spoke again, her voice trembling, but steadying with each word. "These scars, they're my story. I survived a house fire when I was 10. I lost everything, my parents, my home. I've been hiding them ever since, afraid people would see me as broken. But I'm not broken. I'm alive." A heavy silence filled the bar. Even the toughest bikers looked away, their throats tight. Hank's hand trembled as he tried to say something, but no words came. The man who thought tearing a girl's shirt would make him look strong, now stood exposed himself. Exposed as a bully, exposed as weak in the face of true strength. One older man at the bar finally stood. His voice cracked as he spoke. "You're not broken, girl. You're braver than all of us put together." The crowd nodded, murmurs of agreement spreading. Emily's eyes glistened with tears, but for the first time in years, she wasn't tears of shame. They were tears of release. She had carried the weight of her scars alone, but now she saw something new: acceptance, understanding, even respect. Hank, overwhelmed by guilt, stepped forward. "Emily, I'm sorry," he stammered, his rough voice stripped of its edge. "I didn't know." Emily looked at him, her eyes steady. "That's the problem, Hank. You didn't want to know. People like you look at others and think you're stronger by tearing them down. But real strength is surviving what should have destroyed you." The biker lowered his head, unable to meet her gaze. His gang shifted uncomfortably, ashamed by the silence that pressed down on them. For the first time, Hank felt smaller than the waitress he had tried to humiliate. Word of what happened that night spread far beyond the bar. Emily's story traveled through whispers, then through posts online, and soon strangers were walking in, not to drink, but to meet the girl who had stood up in her pain and turned it into power. People began donating to help her finish nursing school, something she had dreamed of but thought was impossible, while struggling to pay rent with her waitress job. But life didn't turn easy overnight. Emily still fought nightmares of the fire. She still caught herself flinching at stares. And Hank, he struggled with his demons too. That night had changed him. For weeks, He kept thinking of the scars, how they weren't just flesh but proof of survival. He realized his own life, full of bad choices and wasted years, needed scars too. Scars he hadn't earned because he had been running from pain instead of facing it. Slowly, Hank began to change. He quit drinking, started showing up sober, even got a job at a local garage. Some said it was guilt that changed him, others said it was shame. But maybe it was something more. Maybe it was the first time he had seen real strength and realized he wanted some of it for himself. Months passed. Emily graduated nursing school. The bar threw her a celebration. Hank showed up, standing in the back, not sure if he belonged. When Emily saw him, she didn't look away. Instead, she walked up, extended her hand and said, "People can change. You proved that." Hank's eyes watered. He shook her hand, unable to speak. The crowd clapped, and for once, it wasn't about beer or music. It was about hope. By the end of that night, people left with something more than a good time. They left with a story they would carry for life. A story that reminded them scars don't make you less, they make you more. That cruelty can be stopped with courage. That even in the darkest rooms, a single act of truth can light up everything. So if you're listening to this story right now, remember Emily's lesson. Don't hide your scars, whether they're on your body or in your heart. They're proof you survived, and if you ever feel tempted to judge someone, pause. Look deeper. You never know the battles they've fought just to be standing there. Before you go, I want to ask you something. Did Emily's story touch your heart? If it did, please share your thoughts in the comments below. I'd love to hear what you felt. And don't forget to subscribe to my channel. Be kind always. Together, we can spread stories that remind the world kindness is the real strength.